So you've done so much. You started acting when you were 9. How does it make you feel knowing that, you know, Anne of Green Gables in particular has been such an important journey for so many young people and certainly the audience today? Just out of curiosity, how many people have seen Anne of Green Gables? Love it. So how does that make you feel? I mean, obviously, you've got a fan following. It's been an incredible run. So how do you feel knowing that you've had such an impact?
Honestly, I feel proud and I feel very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude. Grateful that I was lucky enough as a young performer to be exposed to a character who was as powerful and who was the central figure in a story. So for being a young woman, that was a role model that was presented to me and gave me a taste for wanting to be number one, to be honest.
Which is absolutely fair. I mean, it's been over 30 years now since Anne of Green Gables aired. It's still considered the highest rated program in Canadian broadcast history. It's been translated into numerous languages. I mentioned there have been countless adaptations recently. So why do you think this Canadian story by Lucy Maud Montgomery has resonated with audiences around the world and certainly remained as relevant today?
Well, probably for a couple of reasons. One, it occurred to me, just given what my previous answer was, that in fact, stories where the character is being driven by a female are not as prevalent as male-driven stories into just boys and young men. And so when it was first made in the mid-'80s, ooh, that seems like a long time ago, isn't it? When I was wee thing, it still really had that impact because people were hungry, I think, to see something of themselves reflected. And what's interesting is, of course, because it's a very specific story, it's this orphan girl, this very, you know, this red-haired, freckled, very white girl and her story. But it's really, to me, speaks to an outsider, someone who's considered not worthy, someone whose society has deemed trash. And in fact, there's a line, I think, where one of the foster parents, basically, and weren't called foster parents then, so I'm not at all demeaning foster parents, who do incredible, extraordinary things. But the person who's her charge, basically, you know, you're trash. She has no value. And this girl, instead of it destroying her spirit, stands up and wants to be seen. I think, who cannot get behind that? And I think globally, in many countries, young women still are fighting that fight. Mm-hmm. So it's not that, it's still relevant.
Yeah, of course. Now, you've obviously worked with an incredible cast, Colleen Dewhurst, Richard Farnsworth, Jonathan Crombie, and you must have many wonderful memories. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience? Anything that stands out?
There's so many. I mean, obviously my heart with Jonathan, who's no longer with us, such a funny, bright, talented actor. So I have many just incredibly fond memories with Jonathan. But what a treat to work with Colleen Dewhurst, this incredible thespian, this woman, such a powerhouse. And I had the great fortune of working with Colleen again in another film I did shortly after. We were teamed up in a film called Termini Station, a Canadian independent film. Powerful, powerful woman, and also really just was so present, so respectful of everyone doing their work. She was a person who came to work and was playful, and as a young performer, seeing those attitudes, she was definitely, there was someone you wanted to aspire to be like.
Yeah. Now, you've had this incredible and varied career, but if you could go back to the time when you were making the Anne movies, what advice would you give yourself?
Probably breathe. Well, you know, it really was, I think, you know, I would just say it's going to turn out all right, you know. And you just I was very present. She kind of casts a spell on you, that character. So for all of the performers who've been touched by that character, she's I always say she really is her own entity, and it's someone that you get the privilege of spending time with when you play her. So if you kind of get out of the way and listen to what Lucy Maud Montgomery was trying to say and being open to that. And I think that we did that, so I actually feel pretty good.